The shuttle door opened with a low hum. A warm red light filled the air as the human team stepped onto the surface of Avenir. The ground was soft and golden, and the sky above was filled with two suns. This was not Earth. This was the home of. The Tavari. Mark stepped out last. He was tall, quiet, and alert. His uniform was black with a silver badge on the shoulder. He did not speak much, but when he did, his voice was calm and steady. He was a trained guard, selected for the most important mission of all, protecting the Tavari Queen during the peace talks. Behind him, the other human guards walked in formation. Some whispered about the planet's strange air. Others looked around nervously. The Tavari were known to be proud and careful. Peace with them had taken many years. Mark stayed silent. His eyes scanned the palace ahead. It was tall and white, shaped like a smooth mountain. Wide steps led up to the doors. Silver flags waved gently in the breeze. A Tavari officer greeted the group. His skin was a soft green, and his face was smooth and long. His voice echoed when he spoke. "Welcome to Avenir. The Queen is waiting." They were led inside the palace. Halls were bright, lit by floating lights that moved like birds. The walls were covered in glass patterns and glowing stones. Everything was quiet, no noise, no footsteps, only the gentle hum of energy beneath their feet. Mark followed without a word. His face stayed calm, but inside, something strange was happening. It felt like he had walked here before. The walls, the light, even the smell of the air, it was all new, yet somehow familiar. At last, they entered the throne chamber. It was a wide, open space with tall crystal pillars. In the center sat Queen Viren. Her skin was silver blue, her eyes golden. Her long dark robes floated just above the floor. She looked strong, calm, and proud. But when her eyes met Mark's, everything stopped. Her golden eyes widened. Her breath caught. The room fell into silence. Mark did not move. He looked straight ahead, respectful and still. He noticed her stare but said nothing. He was trained not to speak unless asked. The Queen stood slowly. Her voice was soft but strong. "What is your name?" Mark replied. "Mark, Your Majesty. I have been sent to serve as your guard." She stepped down from the throne. Her eyes locked on his face. Each step she took was careful. She walked in a slow circle around him, watching. His eyes, his jaw, the way he stood. "You are human," she said. "Yes," Mark replied. She looked deeper into his eyes. "But you carry something familiar?" The Tavari guards behind her looked confused. One whispered to another, but the Queen raised her hand, and they stopped at once. Mark stood still. He did not understand what she meant. He looked like himself. Nothing strange had ever been said about his face before. The Queen turned away, walking back to her throne. But her voice trembled slightly. "You may stay. You will protect me during these talks." Mark bowed. "As you wish, Queen Viren." The meeting ended, and the human team was led to their rooms. Mark was given his own chamber near the Queen's quarters. It was large and quiet, with a soft blue bed and glowing walls. He unpacked in silence. Later that night, as he sat near the window, looking at the two suns fading into the horizon, he felt a strange pull in his chest. Not pain, not fear, just something he could not explain. He thought about the Queen's eyes. That moment when she looked at him, it was not hate, not anger. It was something else, like she had seen a memory. He stood and walked to the mirror. He looked at his face, same as always, brown hair, sharp jaw, steady eyes, a small scar under his chin from training, nothing special. So why did the Queen look at him like that? Suddenly, a soft knock came from the door. It opened slightly, and a young Tavari girl stepped in. She looked nervous. "Sorry," she said. "I came to bring this." She held out a small tray with a glowing drink. Mark took it. "Thank you." She hesitated, then said, "You look like someone." That's why the Queen stared. Mark frowned. "Someone from your people?" The girl nodded. "Long ago." He was close to her. Mark wanted to ask more, but the girl left quickly, closing the door behind her. He sat down and looked at the drink. It was warm and gold. As he sipped it, he looked back out the window. The stars were rising now, and the palace lights glowed like fireflies. Mark closed his eyes. He didn't know what was happening, or why the queen had looked at him with such shock. But something told him this was only the beginning. Something from the past was waking up again. The next morning, the palace was quiet. Mark stood near the queen's chamber door, his hands behind his back, eyes watching the hallway. His body was still, like a statue. That was his job now, to protect Queen Viren. The Tavari guards passed by, some with curious looks, some with cold eyes. No one said a word. Mark didn't mind. He was used to being alone. Inside the queen's chamber, Viren sat near a glowing stone table. Her long fingers touched an old pendant. It was shaped like a star, with a small blue gem in the center. She stared at it, lost in thought. A servant stood near her, waiting. Viren finally spoke. "Bring me the human guard's file." The servant bowed and left. A moment later, he returned with a small glass screen. Viren touched it, and Mark's records appeared. Earthborn, age 30, military trained, no family, no children, nothing out of the ordinary. But still, her heart whispered, he feels like Darren. She had not said that name out loud in many years. Darren was gone, lost in the war. His body never found. But his face, his voice, his quiet strength, she had seen all of it in Mark. She stood and walked to the window. The red sun was rising. The sky was turning gold. Viren whispered, "Why now?" Later that day, Mark walked through the outer garden. The Tavari sky was calm. Strange flowers opened when he walked past, their petals reaching toward the light. He was not off duty, but the queen had allowed him to explore certain parts of the palace. Maybe she wanted to study him. Maybe she wanted him to feel watched. He didn't know. As he turned a corner, he saw her. Queen Viren stood under a tall silver tree. The wind moved through her dark robes. Her golden eyes were not on him, but on the sky. He stopped and gave a respectful bow. She turned. "You may walk here, guard Mark. I do not mind." Mark straightened. "Thank you, my queen." She looked at him for a long time. "Do you feel something strange being here?" Mark was quiet for a moment. "Yes," he said. "Things feel familiar, but I've never been here before." The queen nodded slowly. "Familiar. That is the word I would use as well." Mark tilted his head. "Do I remind you of someone?" "Yes," she said softly. "Someone I once knew. A long time ago." There was silence between them. Then she asked, "Have you ever lost someone?" Mark looked at the ground. "Yes, my older brother. During training. I still think of him sometimes." The queen's voice became quiet. "I lost someone, too, during the war. He was my mate. His name was Darren." Mark did not speak. He did not know what to say. "He was strong," she said, "silent, like you. He protected me once when the palace was attacked. He vanished after that day. Some say he died. Others say he was taken." Mark's heart beat faster. "And you think I look like him?" She nodded. "Exactly. Your face, your voice, even the way you stand. It is like seeing a ghost." Mark took a breath. "I don't remember anything, but I do feel something when I look at you. Like I should protect you, even without being told." The queen stepped closer. Her golden eyes searched his face again. That is what he used to say. Later that night, Mark sat in his chamber, turning the words over in his mind. Could he really be connected to someone from another species? It made no sense. He was human, born on Earth. His records were clear. But memories didn't lie, and feelings could not be trained. He opened the drawer beside his bed. Inside was a small photo of his childhood. He stared at it. His face was the same, even back then. So why did the queen say he looked like Darren? Suddenly, he remembered the pendant she wore. It had a shape he had seen before in a dream. The dream came back to him now. A field of red grass, a silver tree, a woman with golden eyes calling his name. Not Mark, but another name, something softer, something older. He stood up quickly and left the room. In the deep halls of the palace, Queen Viren walked with a quiet servant beside her. Has he asked about Darren? She asked. The servant shook her head. No, Queen. But I think he dreams. He speaks in his sleep. Sometimes in our language. Varian stopped walking. Our language, yes, Queen. Varian placed a hand on the wall. Her thoughts were heavy. Then the memory is inside him, somehow. She looked down the dark hallway. There's a room, she said. A hidden chamber. Darren used to go there. It holds pieces of the past. Maybe it will speak to him too. She turned to the servant. Let him find it. Back in his room, Mark could not sleep. He stepped out, walking the silent halls of the palace. He did not know where he was going, but something inside him did. He followed a soft sound, a hum, a low energy that seemed to call him. Down a side hall, through a silver door, into the lower levels. There, behind a tall curtain, was a small entrance almost hidden. Mark opened it and stepped inside. The room was round, with a single glowing crystal in the center. Round the walls were old Tavari objects, blades, robes, stones, and paintings. One painting stopped him cold. It was a Tavari soldier, tall and proud. Silver blue skin, golden eyes. But the face, it was his own. Mark stepped closer. His heart beat loud in his ears. Was it a dream, a trick? Or was he really carrying something from the past? He touched the painting. Behind him, someone entered. Queen. Varian. She looked at the painting, then at Mark. He was not human, she said. But your face, your eyes, they are the same. Mark turned to her. Who am I? She stepped closer. That, she said, is what we must find out. The sky above Avenir was covered with thick clouds. A soft rain fell, glowing slightly in the air. In the quiet palace, Mark's footsteps echoed through the empty hallways. His thoughts were heavy. He could not forget the painting, the face on the wall looked exactly like his, but the person in the picture had silver blue skin like the Tavari. That soldier had fought in the old war. His name was Darren, and somehow the Queen believed Mark and Darren were connected. Mark had no answers, only questions. Later that morning, Queen Varian sat alone in her private room. She held the same star-shaped pendant in her hand, the one Darren once gave her long ago. The gem in the center had faded over the years, but the memory it carried still lived strong. A soft voice broke the silence. Queen. A servant said, entering, the human guard is awake. He is walking the lower halls. The Queen nodded. Let him go where he wishes. The past must speak to him in its own time. Mark walked without a map, letting his steps guide him. Something pulled at his mind, soft like a memory. He turned, left, then down a long stairway hidden behind a tall silver curtain. At the bottom, he found a sealed door. There were strange signs on the surface of Avari symbols, but he could not read them still. When he placed his hand on the door, it opened. Cool wind came from inside. The room was dark except for a slow blue light glowing from the ceiling. The air felt thick, like it had not moved in many years. He stepped in. The walls were lined with old objects, Avari armor, small glass books, broken weapons, and star maps, drawn by hand. But in the center of the room was something different, a round table made of stone, and on it, a pendant just like the one the Queen wore. Only this one was cracked down the middle. Mark walked forward, his hands shaking slightly. He reached out and touched the stone surface. A sudden flash filled the room. He closed his eyes. The world shifted. In his mind, he saw a memory that did not belong to him. A red field stretched under twin moons. A Tavari soldier stood holding a staff, looking toward a burning sky. Behind him stood the Queen, younger, her eyes full of fear. Ships fell from the sky like stars. The soldier turned and spoke her name, Varian. His voice was strong and calm. Mark felt the words, but they were not in English. Still, he understood them. He could feel the love and the promise in that voice. Then came a scream, smoke, fire. The soldier was gone. Mark gasped and stepped back from the table. His chest felt heavy. His hands shook. He looked down and saw the cracked pendant still there. Footsteps sounded behind him. Queen Varian entered the room slowly. She looked at the pendant, then at him. You saw it, didn't you? Mark nodded. I saw him. I saw you. The sky was burning. The Queen stepped closer. That was the last day I saw him. The day he disappeared. Mark took a slow breath. I felt his voice inside my mind. It was like I was him. But I'm not Tavari. I'm human. Viren looked into his eyes. There are things in this galaxy even we do not understand. Maybe the mind can carry more than memory. Maybe the soul finds new paths. Mark sat down on the edge of the table. You think I have his soul? I don't know, she said softly. But something of him lives in you. You stand like him. You speak like him. Even your silence reminds me of him. Mark looked at the walls filled with the past. Why is this room hidden? Because the council did not want to remember him. Some called him a traitor for loving me. Others feared he would return. So I sealed this place to keep him close. She picked up the broken pendant and handed it to Mark. Keep this. It belongs with you now. Mark took it in his hand. It felt warm. Then he asked, do you believe in second lives? Viren closed her eyes. I believe the heart remembers what the mind forgets. That night, Mark sat in his chamber with the pendant resting beside him. He stared out the window. The stars were quiet. His thoughts were loud. Was he just a man chosen by chance? Or was he part of something deeper? Suddenly, there was a soft knock. At the door, a Tavari child entered, no older than 10. He spoke in a low voice. The queen told me to give you this. He handed Mark a small book made of thin crystal. The cover had a symbol of a star and moon. What is it? Mark asked. Darren's journal, the boy said. From the war. Mark took it gently. Thank you. The boy smiled. My grandmother told stories of Darren. She said he was brave. Maybe now you'll remember more. Then the boy left. Mark opened the book. Inside were lines written in Tavari. But as he read, the words became clear. His eyes moved quickly over the pages, and the voice in his mind spoke softly. It was like reading a memory his own, yet not his. I will protect her until the end. One line said, no matter where I go, I will find her again. Mark closed the book. His hands were no longer shaking. The answers were coming, slowly, piece by piece. And deep in his chest, something old had started to wake. The next day on Avenir was silent and cool. The wind carried the scent of soft flowers from the outer gardens. In the great hall, Queen Viren walked alone. Her golden eyes were filled with quiet thoughts. She had seen enough to believe it. Mark was not Darren, but something inside him belonged to the one she once loved. But feelings were not enough. The council would need proof. The people would need truth. And Mark himself needed answers. So she decided to take him to a place no human had ever seen. Mark followed the queen through a long glass hallway. The air shimmered around them. Soft, blue lights lit the floor beneath their feet. Where are we going? Mark asked. Viren did not look back. A place where memory lives. It is called the mirror pool. It shows what is hidden inside. Mark said nothing, but his heart began to beat faster. They passed two Tavari guards. Each one stepped aside in silence as the queen walked by. Then they reached a tall silver door. Viren placed her hand on a round stone near the wall. The door slid open with a quiet hum. Inside, the room was round and quiet. The walls were smooth, and in the center was a pool of water, clear and still like glass. Soft mist floated above its surface. Mark stepped forward. What is this? It is a memory pool. Viren said, our people use it only during deep life questions. If your spirit holds pieces of Darren, this pool may show them. Mark stared at the water. He saw his reflection, but the face in the water slowly changed. For a brief moment, it was not his. It was Darren's. The queen stood beside him. Place your hand in the water. Mark bent down. His fingers touched the surface. The water did not feel cold or warm. It felt like a doorway. Suddenly, his mind was pulled in. He saw flashes, a Tavari camp, young soldiers, bright stars above. Then he saw the queen again, her face younger. She smiled, standing under a silver tree. She touched his face and whispered his name, Darren. Then fire came. War. Explosions. Ships crashing from the sky. Darren fighting. Protecting. And then, one final moment, Darren placing a broken pendant into the queen's hand. I will return, he said. Mark fell back from the pool, gasping for breath. His chest rose and fell quickly. His hands were shaking. The queen placed a hand on his shoulder. What did you see? He looked up at her with wide eyes. I saw you. I saw war. I saw him. I felt his words. I think I was him. Just for a moment. Virene's voice was quiet. That is the sign. The pool never shows false things. It only reflects the truth hidden deep inside the soul. Mark stood up slowly. Then what does this mean? It means part of Darren lives in you, she said. But I was born on Earth, Mark said. I'm fully human. This should not be possible. Viren nodded. There is an old Tavari belief that sometimes the spirit returns in another form to finish what was left undone. Maybe this is not science. Maybe it is something more. Mark looked down at his hands. They felt heavier now, like they carried more than just bones and blood. They carried weight from another life. News spread quietly through the palace. The queen had taken the human guard to the mirror pool. Some called it foolish. Others whispered that the past was waking again. A Tavari elder from the High Council asked to speak with Viren. He was old, with pale green skin and silver eyes. He entered her chamber without smiling. This cannot continue, he said. The people are watching. Some believe the war is returning. Viren stood tall. The war is not returning. But the truth is, the elder frowned. He may look like Darren. He may act like him. But that does not mean he is Darren. He is not Darren, the queen replied. But he is connected. The pool showed it. Then the council will demand more. We need answers, or they will remove him from your service. Virene's eyes grew sharp. If they try, I will stand against them. The elder sighed. Then we are walking a narrow path. One mistake, and peace will break. That night, Mark sat alone, holding the pendant in his hand. He had seen memories that were not his. He had heard voices that spoke his name in a way no one ever had. His heart felt full and heavy, like he was carrying two lives inside one body. He heard a soft knock. The queen stepped in. I wanted to check on you, she said. Mark stood. I'm fine. Just thinking. She nodded. I know how heavy the truth can be. Mark looked at her. Do you think the council will send me away? She paused. They fear change. They fear the past. But they cannot erase what the pool showed. Mark looked down. I'm not trying to be someone else. I just want to understand why I'm here. Viren stepped closer. I did not ask you to be Darren, but I believe you were brought here for a reason. Mark smiled slightly. Maybe, or maybe I was just in the right place at the wrong time. She smiled too. Or the right time. They stood in silence. Then she handed him a small scroll. This was written by Darren before the final battle. He gave it to me. I want you to have it. Mark opened the scroll. Inside, the words were simple. Love never dies. Memory never fades. I will find you again. He read the lines twice. I feel like I've heard these words before. He said. Viren whispered. You wrote them. Mark did not speak. He simply held the scroll close. In that moment, no words were needed. Something old had returned. Not in body, not in voice, but in heart, and it was only the beginning. The palace was alive with whispers. The news about Mark and the mirror pool had spread quickly. Some Tavari believed the old stories might be true. Others feared the memory of Darren in a human body was a danger. The High Council gathered in the great hall. The room was cold and wide, with tall pillars shining like crystals. The council members sat on smooth stone seats arranged in a circle. Their faces were serious. Queen Viren stood in the center. Her silver blue skin shimmered under the light. Her golden eyes were steady and strong. The human guard is not just a guard, she said. He carries the memory of my lost mate. I believe this is a gift, not a threat. One elder spoke first. His voice was deep and sharp. Your Majesty, the people do not understand this. They fear the past. They fear war. If Mark remains close, the peace we worked for may break. Another elder added. We must protect the queen and the people. The safest way is to remove Mark from the palace. He is a symbol of old wounds. Virene's eyes flashed. He is not a symbol of war. He is a symbol of hope. If we let fear control us, then we lose everything. A younger council member stood. But what if this is a trick? What if humans use this connection to control you? The queen shook her head. Mark has done nothing but protect me. He has been loyal and kind. The elder raised a hand. The council has decided. Mark must leave the palace, or the treaty with Earth will end. Virene's voice was calm but firm. I will not allow that. Not again. I lost Darren once. I will not lose Mark. The council fell silent. The weight of her words hung heavy. After the meeting, Mark waited outside the chamber. He had heard everything. He felt a mixture of fear and sadness. The people he was trying to protect now saw him as a threat. He walked slowly through the halls. The palace felt colder. The guards looked at him differently. Later, he found Queen Verine in her garden. She was sitting by a small pool of water, staring at the stars. Mark approached quietly. Will I have to leave? He asked. She smiled softly. I hope not, but the council is strong. They fear what they do not understand. Mark sat beside her. I don't want to cause trouble. I only want to help. You help by being yourself, she said. You carry a part of our past, yes, but you also carry our future. Mark looked at the sky. Sometimes I feel like I don't belong anywhere. The queen's hand rested on his shoulder. You belong here, with us, and with me. The next day, Mark was called to a meeting with the council. The room was cold. The elders looked serious. We offer you a choice, one elder said. Leave the palace peacefully, or be removed by force. Mark stood tall. I am here to protect the queen. I will not leave unless she asks me. The elder nodded slowly. Very well, but be warned, if trouble comes, we will act. Mark bowed slightly. Thank you. He left the room feeling the weight of the future pressing down on him. That night, Mark and Verine met in secret. We must be careful, she said. The council is watching. Mark nodded. I will do whatever it takes to keep the peace. She looked at him with hope. Then we must show them who you really are. Not just a memory, but a man of honor. Mark smiled. I want to prove that being human is enough. They stood together under the twin moons. A new chapter was beginning. The palace was no longer just a place of power. It was a place of choice. And Mark was ready to face whatever came next. The palace was quiet under the twin moons. Most Tavari had gone to rest, but Mark remained awake. His mind was heavy with worry. The council's warning had not disappeared. Some within the palace still saw him as a threat. Suddenly, a faint sound reached Mark's ears. It was soft, like a whisper moving through the stone halls. He stood quickly and listened. Footsteps, many footsteps, moving fast. Mark grabbed his weapon, a simple energy baton, and moved toward the sound. His heart beat strong but calm. He was ready. In the shadows of the palace, a small group of rebels gathered. There were Tavari guards who did not trust Mark or the queen's decision. Their leader, a tall Tavari named Raylan, spoke in a low voice. This human is a danger. He carries the past, yes, but the past will bring war again. We cannot let him stay. Another guard said. Raylan nodded. Tonight, we act. We strike fast and quiet. We remove the threat before the council breaks. The group moved like shadows, weapons ready. Mark moved silently through the halls. His training helped him stay hidden. He thought of Queen Verine. She trusted him, believed in him. He would not fail. Suddenly, he saw them guards moving in the dark, their weapons drawn. Mark stepped forward. Stop. The guards turned, surprised, but they attacked. Mark fought with skill and calm. He blocked their strikes and disarmed one guard, but they were many. As the battle grew, Mark felt something deep inside him awaken. His movements became faster, stronger, almost like the stories of Darren he had read about. He did not feel like a simple human anymore. Queen Verine heard the noise and ran from her chambers. She arrived just as the fight grew fierce. Mark, she called. Mark turned to see her. His eyes met hers, filled with strength and courage. The rebels hesitated. Verine stepped between them. Stop this now. You bring dishonor to our people. Raylan sneered. This is for the queen's safety. He is not one of us. Viren raised her hand. Mark is my guard and my friend. We will not let fear divide us. Mark moved forward again. In a moment of danger, he shouted her name, Viren, not as Mark, but with the voice of someone else. The rebels stopped, surprised. The hall fell silent. The council arrived soon after. Alerted by the noise, they saw Mark and Viren standing side by side. The rebels were captured and led away. An elder whispered, "Perhaps the past does return when the heart remembers." Viren looked at Mark. "You have shown bravery today, not as a ghost, but as yourself." Mark nodded. "I fight for peace, for you, for all of us," the council murmured. Some eyes held respect now. That night, Mark and Viren stood on the palace balcony. The twin moons shone brightly. "The council has seen your courage," Viren said. Mark smiled softly. "But the path is still long." She placed her hand on his arm. "Together, we will walk it." Mark looked up at the stars. For the first time, hope filled his heart. The future was uncertain, but he was ready. The morning sun rose over the silver towers of the Tavari Palace. Its light touched every wall, every window, and every heart inside. But something deeper than light was spreading now. A quiet change was beginning, one that could shape the future of two worlds. Mark stood at the edge of the palace garden. Flowers with glowing petals swayed gently. He looked peaceful, but inside, he felt the weight of many eyes, many voices, and one important question: could he stay? Behind him, Queen Viren walked slowly. She wore her royal robe, but her face was not cold or distant. It was warm and honest. "You are quiet today," she said. Mark turned. "I've been thinking." She stepped closer. "About the council's new decision." He nodded. "They offered a compromise. I can stay in Tavari lands, but not as a guard. Not near you, not in the palace." Viren's golden eyes were calm. "They fear your face, not your heart." Mark looked down. "I understand their fear. I just never thought I would care this much about a place I never belonged to." She touched his arm gently. "You belong." Now, he looked at her. "Even if I leave." She did not answer right away. The wind carried soft scents of moon fruit and silver grass. "I want you to stay," she said at last. "But the choice must be yours." Later that day, the great council gathered once more. The hall was full. Even visitors from Earth were present, watching closely. This moment was important not just for Tavari, but for humans too. The oldest council member stood. His voice was calm and full of age. "Mark, human guard of the queen, you have stood strong, but your face still brings unrest. Our peace with Earth is too important. So we offer this: leave the palace, take a new role far from royal grounds, and help as a link between our people." Whispers filled the hall. Mark stepped forward. His uniform was clean, but his eyes were tired. "I did not ask for this face, but I did choose to protect the queen. I did choose to believe in peace. If leaving helps keep that peace, I will do it." The room was silent. Viren stood slowly. Her voice was soft, but every word echoed. "Mark is not just a guard. He is a sign that even after pain, new trust can grow, that two worlds can understand each other." She paused. "If you send him away," she continued, "send him not in shame but in honor." The crowd listened. Some eyes softened. Some minds began to open. The council elder nodded. "So let it be written. Mark, the human, will serve as Earth's voice to the Tavari. He may return to the palace only with council's blessing, but his name will be remembered for his courage." Mark packed his few belongings the next morning. The palace halls felt different now. He walked past guards who once watched him with cold eyes. Now they gave him small nods of respect. He reached the garden one last time. Viren was waiting. "I will miss our talks here," she said. Mark smiled gently. "Me too. You are not being banished," she said firmly. "You are being trusted." He nodded. "Still, it feels hard to leave." She stepped closer, then returned one day. "Not as a guard, not as a symbol, just as you." Mark looked at her. "Would you welcome me?" Her smile was full of truth, always. They stood silently for a moment. Then he turned and walked away. Years passed. Mark worked as a guide between Earth and Tavari. He helped build stronger friendships. He gave talks, helped train new peacekeepers, and told the story of how God and a queen changed everything. He lived among both humans and Tavari. He was never fully one or the other, but he was accepted by both. His face still reminded people of Darren, but over time, it reminded them of Mark even more. One day, a message came from the palace. A special event was being held. A new peace treaty was to be signed. Queen Viren requested his presence. Mark stood in front of the palace again. Older now, but with the same steady heart. Guards opened the doors. He stepped through. Inside, Viren stood waiting. "You kept your promise," she said. He smiled. "And you kept your welcome." She stepped down from the platform and stood beside him. "Walk with me," she said. They walked through the halls. Together, no one stopped them. No one looked away, because this time, they walked not as guard and queen, not as human and Tavari, but simply as the beings who believed in peace together.